Recently you guys have been asking a lot about Starfield's performance and console mod support, so today I wanted to make a quick video discussing it all, because it is understandably a concern. Today was going to be part 8, I think, of things we'd like to see in the Elder Scrolls 6 series, but I decided to just push that into later this week because it's pretty clear that you guys really want me to discuss Starfield's performance. So with that being said, drop the video a like for me, consider subscribing if you're new around here, and if you're looking for a place to stay up to date on Starfield news, leaks, discussions, speculation, and a bunch of other content. But with that out of the way, let's talk about it. I will say right off the bat that I think the reason a few people are worried about Starfield's performance is because of Fallout 4. Still to this day, it's very difficult to get Fallout 4 to run even on a console, mostly due to the crashing in Boston. I crash constantly on my Series X, it's even worse on my Series S, and I haven't really played much Fallout on my PS5 due to the lack of FPS. But I have seen a bunch of reports, if you will, that it crashes over there too, and I know for sure that it does crash on the PS4. Basically, Fallout 4 is just ridiculously unstable on consoles, and as we've spoken about before, Bethesda have done nothing to fix it. They'd rather work on Fallout 76, despite Fallout 4 having over double the amount of players every month. But that's a topic that we've discussed to death on the channel, so I think that is where the worry comes from, especially from the console player's perspective. Now, with Starfield being the first big exclusive from the Bethesda and Microsoft ownership, I think it will be pretty well optimized. Xbox has had some, let's say, bad experience with shipping out games that don't really work well on the Xbox, and I definitely think that they'll want to avoid this with Starfield, as, let's be honest, Starfield will be one of the best-selling games next year, there's no doubt about that. I think Bethesda also will want to stray as far away as possible from this too, after the backlash they're still receiving for Fallout 76 not working right. Plus, going back to the crashing, I think that Bethesda have learned their lesson from Fallout 4 and hopefully just designed Starfield in a safer way. I mean, they have been working on this game a lot longer than they worked on Fallout 4 and even Skyrim for that matter, and personally I think that that's a very good sign. And that's one of the reasons why I'm actually happy that they delayed Starfield. I mean, sure, it sucks and I wish I could be playing it right now, but I'm also happy that they did delay it. They knew things weren't right and they knew that things needed to be fixed, so they made the mature decision to delay the game, which would have cost them a lot of money, and actually finish it instead of rushing it out just to meet deadlines. I think we can all agree that we're happy to wait longer if it means we get a more fleshed out game, right? Now, we'll get into mod support here in a minute, but I think that FPS also needs to be taken into account. I've seen a lot of people claiming it won't be 60 FPS on consoles, and honestly I just don't agree with that. In fact, I think it's quite obvious that it will be. Fallout 4 and Skyrim are both 60 FPS on consoles now. I don't see any reason to think that Starfield won't be. However, it might lower the quality. For example, Fallout 4 runs at 60 FPS, but the quality is capped at 1080p, so maybe the same thing will happen to Starfield. I honestly don't know, and to be honest, I don't care. 1080p is good enough for me personally, especially on a console. As long as the game runs at a nice FPS and works well, that's all I really care about. Sure, I would prefer to have better graphics, but it's really unimportant to me. It's also really important to mention, and I can't stress this enough, but this is not confirmed, but according to a lot of people, Fallout 4 is more unstable because of Creation Club, and all of their problems started when they started downloading Creation Club items. Downloading creations can really mess up your game, at least according to what I've seen. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised at this, since they are basically mods that don't update with the game, so it's bound to cause issues. I've had a few issues with Pip-Boy and weapon skins in Fallout 4 causing a bunch of problems, and I hope and don't think that Starfield will launch with a Creation Club, which we've obviously spoken about here before, so I don't think that we have to worry about that, but I feel it was important to bring up. Now, going into mod support for consoles, this is obviously a very big topic. Mods on Xbox consoles especially have been extremely successful. I've made a few console load orders myself as videos. We've got some great mods on Xbox now for both Fallout 4 and Skyrim, so the question on everybody's minds is, will Starfield get the same treatment with console mods? Will we even have it? And honestly, yeah, I definitely think that we will at some point. I think it's sort of expected. I do believe that Starfield will get console mod support either on launch day or within the year that Starfield launches. Bethesda know that Starfield has a massive modding potential, and I think that they'll definitely want to bring this to consoles. I think that Microsoft will too, especially considering that they've been super supportive of console modding Bethesda games in the past, again going back to Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Now we have to talk about the mod cap, right? For those of you who don't know, console players only get 5GB of mod space for Skyrim and only 2 for Fallout 4, which is an absolute joke. Fallout 4 definitely needs more space, and I really wish that Bethesda would update it for the console players, but how much will Starfield get? Now Bethesda have said before that the only reason that they won't update the mod space for Fallout 4 is because it will ruin everybody's load order, but I think that's an absolute bullshit excuse, to be honest with you, because they've done really less important updates, especially with Skyrim, that have destroyed load orders, and they didn't seem to care, so who knows. But honestly, because of that, I think that Starfield will have a big mod space right off the bat. I've seen some people hoping for 20 gigs, which would be amazing, but I think that's quite wishful thinking, to be honest with you. Even though I don't think any console player would complain about having to download 20 extra gigabytes if it meant that we could download bigger and better mods. Honestly, I think the more likely number is between 8 and 10 gigs. I definitely think that Starfield will have more space than Skyrim, because this time Bethesda know how badly console users want bigger mod space, so I definitely think 8, 9 or 10 is the magic number, maybe 15 if we're lucky. And look, 20 or even 20 plus is definitely possible, just don't get your hopes up, because as I said, I think that's wishful thinking, but it is possible. The thing with Starfield is most of these mods are going to be huge. People are going to create entire towns and cities for the empty planets, adding in new enemies, weapons, spacesuits, even spaceships. Like, the mods for Starfield are going to be absolutely insane, and Bethesda aren't stupid, they know this, and I honestly think they'll want to give Xbox as much support with console modding as possible. They've said plenty of times they want this game to be their most played game and replayed game, and let's face it, that's not going to happen unless you give console players a lot of room for modding, because it's mods that make people come back to Skyrim and Fallout 4 and so on. And people seem to forget that Starfield will be played mostly on consoles, mostly on Xboxes. Most of the people who will buy Starfield are casual gamers, they don't have PCs, they have Xboxes, and that's where most of Starfield's sales will go. The majority of gamers are on console. Now, one last thing I want to mention before we wrap up is the people claiming that Starfield was delayed because Bethesda couldn't get it to run on the Series S. This is something I keep seeing recently. Yeah, I promise you that's not why it was delayed. Not to be rude, but I think it's quite laughable to even believe that, so just don't worry, that's not why it was delayed, I promise. The Series S can run games that are a lot more advanced than a Creation Engine game. So again, you don't need to worry about that, I just wanted to address that real quick. But anyway, that is my thoughts on Starfield's console performance and mod support. Basically, we're just gonna have to wait and find out. But anyway, drop the video a like for me if you haven't already, and again, if you want a place to stay up to date on Starfield news, Fallout news, Elder Scrolls news, plenty of leaks, discussions, speculation, and a bunch of other content, this is the place for it, so consider subscribing if you haven't already. We are also super close to 2,000 subscribers, so if you do subscribe, I thank you so much for the support and helping us further that goal. You can also join our Discord for a more interactive discussion on these games. The link is in the pinned comment below and the description below. But anyway, with that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one.